In this video, you'll be getting 4 simple, quick, and downright effective movements that can not only help to keep you moving well on the court, but also prevent you from sustaining aches, pains, and even injuries. And you'll even get a free document with some extra details not covered in this video, assuming you like free stuff. Best of all, you won't need any equipment for these specific movements. We're talking a warm-up that's practical, effective, and time efficient. So if you're willing to give me a few minutes of your time, I'll give you some unique movements that you can use as a warm-up routine or to incorporate into your pre-existing warm-up routine to target vulnerable areas of your body, helping you to stay out of the injury zone and on the court. So let's talk about it. Hey everyone, I'm Jim. Now, I want to be respectful of your time, so if you want to jump right to the warm-up sequences, I've got timestamps that you can use, but I'm going to suggest that you watch this video without skipping the following section, since you'll likely experience better results if you know why I've constructed the following routine in such a particular manner. You'll also learn a bit about the free PDF that I've created for you as well. So what I'm going to do here is show you a series of simple movements that, if done in a particular manner, can serve to act as a powerful mechanism to essentially do a couple of things, including prime your muscles and tendons in a way that will help to optimize your performance on the court, and cut down on risk of developing annoying aches, pains, and even injuries. And we're going to do this by taking advantage of some unique changes that take place in our muscles and tendons when we load, stimulate, and prepare them in a particular way right before a workout or activity session. Best of all, we're going to do this without any equipment, so you have no excuse for not at least getting something done for a warm-up right before stepping onto the court. All you'll need is a wall for one of the hip activation exercises, and that's it. It's a down and dirty, quick-hitting way of getting your body ready to go if you just need something that's quick but offers a massive bang for your buck. So as we start to rock and roll here, I do want to mention that, as you likely know, the absolute best warm-up will always be one that is individually tuned to your own specific needs and takes into account your own unique factors such as your current health, previous injuries, and so on. What I've constructed in this video is for those of you who are otherwise healthy and just need something quick and convenient that can offer a rather nice bang for your buck right before hopping onto the court. When it comes to warming up before a sport or activity, just remember that something is absolutely better than nothing. And if you're someone who tends to forego or shy away from warm-ups due to them feeling inconvenient, time-consuming, or boring, then this little down and dirty style of warm-up should fit the bill quite nicely. So while the upcoming sequence of activation movements serves as a solid standalone series for priming your tissues, I'll remind you that you can certainly take the movements and concepts within this video and plug them into any additional warm-up strategies and movements that you feel are best for you. All right, here we go. So a lot is going to happen in this little warm-up. The upcoming movements I've put together not only specifically target vulnerable body parts, but each movement also trickles out to multiple other nearby muscle groups and body parts at the same time. And so the result for each movement is targeted activation to specific body parts with a lot of overflow into other nearby areas. So remember that free PDF I mentioned a minute ago? I'd suggest downloading it, since in the interest of time for this video, I won't run through all of the details of each of the upcoming movements, but those details are in the free PDF handout that I've created for you. And this way you can have a printed or electronic copy on hand to serve as a reminder of how to perform all of what's covered in this video, if you'd so desire. So if you feel that's pretty cool, all I'd ask here is to please consider hitting the like button, sharing this video with someone whom you feel could benefit, or subscribing to this channel. As always, it's an honor to serve all of you, and it's very humbling when you choose to support me in return. So if we know what the most vulnerable areas of the body are, not only for the sport of pickleball, but for life in general, then we stand a solid chance of putting together a series of movements that can be profoundly helpful for ensuring we minimize their risk of injury from inadequate warm-up. And I'll tell you from the research, from my years of formal studies, and from my own anecdotal experiences treating injured pickleballers in the clinic, that we need to be exceptionally mindful about a few areas. Particularly, we need to look after the rotator cuff, which is a group of 4 muscles that help to produce and control shoulder movement. We also need to be very mindful of your Achilles tendon, your knees, and of course your lower back. Now, I'll spare you the details why so that I don't turn this into an hour-long lecture, but just know that there's some strong rationale for being extra mindful of these areas. All right, let's briefly run through the movements and talk about some of the finer details afterwards. Movement number 1 is the push-pull. This series of movements comes from a shoulder guru named Dr. Tom House, And this little sequence of movements here is a small portion of one of his many rotator cuff warm-up routines. Getting into the habit of performing his full warm-up routines certainly isn't a bad idea, but even this one simple series of shoulder movements I'll take you through will do wonders for getting your shoulders ready to go. Step 1 is to grab your hands like so and pull them apart with a fair amount of effort. And then while holding this tension, you're going to twist left and right a number of times each way without rotating your hips. Next, while maintaining this tension, you're going to perform a bunch of circles in an outward direction and then perform them going in an inward direction. And once you've completed those circles, you're then going to throw your elbows forward in a swimming motion for a number of repetitions and then repeat the process in a backwards direction. After that, you switch your grip and repeat this exact same sequence, ideally without taking a break. And lastly, when you get all of that done, you're going to now push your hands together and repeat that entire sequence. And of course, when you repeat that sequence, then you switch your hands, push them together in the opposite direction, and do it again. Now that whole sequence should only take a minute or so, but by the end of it, you should definitely feel that your shoulders got a nice little wake-up call, which means they're now a bit more prepared for your upcoming pickleball session. Now this movement right here is known as a Soleus pump, but you can also just think of it as a lunge with an ankle raise. And it's an outstanding way to prepare the Achilles tendon for your upcoming session. But it does a lot more than that, because as you hold this position and pump your ankle up and down, you'll start to feel your quadriceps muscles light up in the process. And this means that your knees will start to get a notable wake-up call as well. So it's important to activate all those muscles around your foot and ankle, including your Achilles tendon, as well as your quadriceps muscles and the quadriceps and patellar tendon around your knee, because these areas can be a little vulnerable to sports such as pickleball. And so all you have to do here is drop into a lunge, hold the position, and pump your front ankle up and down as high as you can. Now, the lower you drop into and hold the lunge, the more challenging it will be for your ankle and the Achilles tendon, which it's attached to, along with your quadriceps muscles. And you can even vary the depth you use here throughout the process. So with this movement alone, we not only prepare the Achilles tendon and muscles of the lower leg, but the muscles of the thigh, which help to stabilize the knee, which you certainly need when it comes to moving around on the court. And the bonus here is that this stance will also wake up your gluteal muscles, which are extremely important muscles of your hip. Now, if these things get rotten and unhealthy on you, then you could be at an increased risk for incurring all sorts of nasty hip pain and lower back pain as well. And so keeping these muscles healthy, strong, and prepared for physical activity is so important that I've included a simple but immensely effective exercise just for them. So let's check that out in the next movement. So your hip health is everything for maintaining athletic performance and avoiding aches, pains, and injury, not just for your hip, but for your lower back as well. And so for this movement, you're going to need a wall or some type of vertical post that you can stand against for this exercise, but I don't think that'll be too much of an issue to find. Now, do not lean into the wall. You want to stay completely upright. Next, bend the knee that's closest to the wall. And from there, you just imagine that you're trying to push your knee directly through the wall itself. And you push as aggressively as you can with enough force that you feel the upper back edge of your hips start to activate and tense up. So push hard enough that you really feel this exertion taking place, and then you're gonna hold it for probably about 20 or 30 seconds. Now, you should feel some decent fatigue by the end of this, and after that, you simply turn around and perform the same sequence using the other leg. And with that, your deep hip stabilizers are now more awake and alert than they were a moment ago, and they'll therefore likely be more tolerant and compliant with the upcoming demands of your pickleball session. And if you want to kick the intensity up a bit and really activate your deep hip stabilizers, all you have to do here is to perform some mini squats while keeping your knee glued to the wall. You just push your knee through the wall at all times, but don't let it move. And then bang out a handful of these little mini squats and you'll get your glutes going for sure. And so now it's on to lumbopelvic dissociation. Now, I won't go into all the details of what's going on here, but ultimately this is all about helping your brain to dissociate or separate movement between your lower back and your hips from the rest of your spine. There are numerous world-class facilities that use lumbopelvic dissociation exercises as part of their warm-up sequence for their athletes, including the folks at the Titleist Performance Institute who work with PGA and non-PGA golfers alike, and now you can too. And so there's a world to unpack with this movement, which is not the purpose of this video. But despite it seeming a bit of an unusual looking movement to perform, improving lumbopelvic dissociation can drastically cut down on the risk of lower back pain and injuries. And trust me, lower back pain is horrible, so do all you can to keep this area of your body healthy. And this movement works by getting your brain to improve your coordination between your hips and your back. So you're trying to rotate your hips forwards and backwards without moving your rib cage. And this is is a profoundly beneficial movement to learn how to master, as improving the movement coordination between your hips and your lower back can drastically reduce the risk of lower back pain. Now, getting some targeted movement into these spinal joints can also start to help move fluid around this region, which can help prepare the joints for your upcoming pickleball session. And all you need to do here is stand in an athletic stance and focus on rotating your hips forwards and backwards without moving your rib cage. And if you find it difficult to perform, it means you've got some work to do. You can also perform this while laying on your back or in the quadruped position. As a quick bonus here, it's also not a bad idea to bang out a handful of repetitions of the traditional cat-cow exercise. Now, this one isn't about movement dissociation, but rather about moving fluid around your joints and mobilizing the deep muscles along your spine. It's a great one to do in addition to lumbopelvic dissociation, so get in the habit of throwing in a handful of repetitions of this movement as well. So with all of those movements having been completed, you sent out a nice wake-up call to numerous areas of your body that will help to activate, mobilize, and better prepare your body for movement on the court. And remember, your body shouldn't feel tired or exhausted after this run through, but it should definitely feel like you've picked on it in a manner that lets everything know that it's time to rock and roll for your upcoming pickleball session. So take some time to practice these movements and individualize them to your own needs. And with that being said, get on the court and make some great things happen, and I will see you in the next video.